All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, and it is Wednesday Wisdom. Reading from Wisdom of the Ages by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. There's a lot of W's going on there. The subtitle of this book is 60 Days to Enlightenment. If you could get through this book in 60 days, that would be some fast contemplation, education, and information. So, today's chapter, ladies and gentlemen, is Reverence for Nature. And so, this chapter is fascinating because there was one a few before. I mean, I haven't read it yet, but I'm saying that because there was one a few before titled Nature by William Wordsworth. I kept saying Wordsworth in the video that I did on that, but William Wordsworth was the English poet. And go back a few videos and check that one out. It was about nature and the art of finding peace through the power of nature. And so today, reverence for nature comes to us from a more Native American point of view. And Dr. Wayne Dyer here references a few different Native Americans and their thoughts and his thoughts, extrapolations on reverence for nature. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's jump right into this one. Reverence for nature. There is no quiet place in your cities, no place to hear the leaves of spring or the rustle of insects' wings. The Indians prefer the soft sound of the wind darting over the face of the pond. The smell of the wind itself, cleansed by a midday rain. Or scented with a pinyon pine. The air is precious to the red man, for all things share the same breath. The animals, the trees, the man, like a man who has been dying for many days. A man in your city is numb to the stench. Chief Seattle said that, 1790 to 1866, and that's a powerful one. That makes me think of something Matt Belair once said. He was down in South America on some kind of event, and I think he was going to the Mayan heart ceremony festival, and there was an elder that came to stay at one of the places they were staying at, and he went to take a shower, and he came back out, and he said, "Your water is dead." He's like, "This is dead water." He's like, "I can't shower in this." And so he had to go out to a creek or a river or something like that to wash himself in what he would describe as living water or not dead water. And so I found that really fascinating compared to what Chief Seattle says here about the intricacies of nature. This, he referring to the sound and the smells of the wind itself, being cleansed by the midday rain. And we all know that wonderful smell. It's almost like it has a energy to it, and it's energizing and refreshing. And then he says, like, a man in our city is numb to the stench, or we're numb to the dead water, so to speak. So Chief Seattle, a member of and forgive me if I wreck any of these names here, but a member of the Suquamish, Duwamish tribes who befriended white settlers in the Puget Sound area. Chief Seattle participated in the Port Elliott Treaty of 1855, ceding Indian land and establishing reservations. The following section is devoted to the wisdom of the Native Americans, whose words, and this is Wayne Dyer saying this, whose words reflect their reverence for all that is sacred in our natural world. He says, "I will cite some of the Native Americans whose contemplative words of wisdom and peace have been left for us to read and share. It is to their memory and to our very survival as a people that this section is dedicated. Wow. There is a legacy of deep love and respect for our environment. Chief Seattle. Chief Seattle is best known as the man who wrote a now famous letter to the President of the United States asking him to consider the American Indians' point of view. Every part of the earth is sacred to his people, he wrote, and we are all part of that precious earth, as well as being brothers in spirit. In the passage quoted above, Chief Seattle asks us to increase our awareness of the soft sounds of the sweets and the sweet smells of life. And in doing so, we will treat our environment with greater respect, not only for its natural beauty, but because we become aware that we are part of this interconnected web of life. We all share the same breath and animals and trees and one another. Orin lions. In the following passage, Orin lions, known as the Onondaga faith keeper, he tells us how his people think generations ahead when making decisions. In our way of life, in government, with every decision we make, we always keep in mind the seventh generation to come. It's our job to see that the people coming ahead, the generations still unborn, have a world no worse than ours, and hopefully better. When we walk upon Mother Earth, we always plant our feet carefully because we know the faces of our future generations are looking up at us from beneath the ground. We never forget them. That's powerful. Holy cow. With that, we consider those unborn generations as we trample our forests and pollute our skies in the name of progress and our present day entitlement. Wolf Song. With that, we also remind ourselves that everything is a circle and every living creature is part of the sacred hoop of life. And Wolf Song of the Abenaki tribe puts it, to honor and respect means to think of the land and the water and the plants and animals who live here as having a right equal to our own to be here. We are not the supreme and all-knowing beings living at the top of the pinnacle of evolution, but in fact we are members of the sacred hoop of life. Along with the trees and rocks, the coyotes, and the eagles and fish and toads, and each that fulfills its purpose. They each perform their given task in the sacred hoop. And we have one too, ladies and gentlemen. In our cities, we have lost much of our grace and naturalness in the name of civilization. We have created noisy, dirty, crowded places to gather and live, and in this process, we have retarded our spirituality. For me, there is nothing so rejuvenating as being out in nature and experiencing this sacred hoop of destiny directly. I added destiny. I thought it was appropriate there. Experiencing this sacred hoop directly. Walking buffalo. While our books and places of study do provide us with invigorating environment, it seems to me that walking buffalo, Tatanga, Mani, Stony Indian, offers us an alternative milieu in which to profit from the terrain, scenery, and immediate surroundings. He observes in this passage, "Oh yes, I went to the white man's schools. I learned to read from school books, newspapers, and the Bible. But in time, I found that these were not enough." And I found that same thing in my life, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we're here doing this Wisdom of the Ages. Now, in time, I found that these were not enough. Civilized people depend too much on man-made printed pages. I turn to the Great Spirit's book, which is the whole of creation. And if you remember what was being talked about in the previous episode, I'm not sure if it was our last Tao video or it was this, this series, The Last Wisdom of the Ages. But it was that thing that you don't depend on the external for your spiritual realization. You turn to the Great Spirit that is within you. It was the end of the lines of that last verse of the Tao Te Ching. How is it that you know the beginning and end of all things? And Lao Tzu wrote, because I look within myself. Something like that. Now, you can read a big part of that book, referring to the Great Spirit's book, which is the whole of creation. If you study nature, if you take all your books and lay them out under the sun and let the snow and rain and insects work on them for a while, there will be nothing left. But the Great Spirit has provided you and me with an opportunity to study in nature's university, the forests, the rivers, the mountains, and the animals, which include us. We are being asked to consider the whole of creation, Wayne Dyer says here, and to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature as something that is just as much connected to us as our feet, hands, and heart. This kind of thinking requires us to look beyond our own immediate feelings of separation from the rest of our sense of being limited in time and space. The Native Americans believe that everywhere is the center of the world. Everything is sacred. Luther Standing Bear, the Indian people who lived here before we brought refinement and culture in the form of our civilizing efforts, send us a message as we seek to enhance our own spirituality and regain our connection to God. For the American Indian, God was known as Wakan Tonka, and all life contained this essence. The winds and drifting clouds were Wakan Tonka in action, and the common sticks and stones were revered as manifestations of the all-pervading, mysterious power that fills the universe. Luther Standing Bear and Ogallala Sioux Chief expressed it poetically. The Indian loved to worship. From birth to death, he revered his surroundings. He considered himself born in the luxurious lap of Mother Earth, and no place to him was humble. There was nothing between him and the big holy. The contact was immediate and personal, and the blessings of Wakan Tonka flowed over the Indian like rain showered from the sky. These are beautiful passages and ways of thinking, and it's so awesome how these ideas correlate with everything else we've been talking about in all of the wisdom and the wisdom of the ages and living the wisdom of the Tao. Change your thoughts, change your life, which is the other series we've been doing. And telling you, all of these points are correlating from many different voices. And there was one guy one time who said, at first I thought I was crazy thinking these kind of thoughts. And then he said, after a while, I started to realize that there was hundreds and thousands of individuals coming from different backgrounds and different perspectives and, different walks of life. And they were all talking about the same thing. And he goes, that's when I began to realize that I wasn't so crazy after all. And that if there is so many people talking about this thing in different ways and different forms, then there must be something to it. And I loved that because he's right on there. Wayne Dyer says here, you can see how much more peaceful and joyful your life would be were you raised to have such reverence for all your surroundings. I love the idea of immediate contact with the big holy, quote unquote. This is something that each and every one of us long to reestablish in our lives. And Luther Standing Bear's observation is perhaps a method. It says, look around and be in a state of reverence while encouraging others to do the same. And that's also the point that we were just talking about in our last video, is when you come to recognize creation as what it is, and then you respect it, you love it, you enjoy every bit of it, you have reverence for it, and then you become a steward and you keep it. And that is simply the purpose of life. Walking buffalo. I return to the wisdom of walking buffalo, Wayne Dyer says. It would be absurd to suggest that you leave your urban lifestyle to live in the wilderness. Modern life has much to offer, and our cities are definitely here to stay, the good with the bad. Yet our city life attitudes may have disconnected us from the natural laws of spiritual harmony. Walking Buffalo died in 1967 at the age of 96. Dang. He had seen much of both worlds and left these words for us. Hills are always more beautiful than stone buildings. You know, living in a city is an artificial existence. Lots of people hardly ever feel real soil under their feet, see plants grow except in flower pots, or get far enough beyond the streetlight to catch the enchantment of a night sky studded with stars. When people live far from scenes of the Great Spirit's making, it's easy for them to forget his laws. He asks us not to move out, Wayne Dyer says, but to remember the sacredness of all life, and to be aware at all times of how these natural laws are always at work in this sacred hoop. Whether you live, whether your immediate environment, wherever you live, whatever your immediate environment looks like, these natural laws are at work, ladies and gentlemen. The air, water, trees, minerals, clouds, animals, birds, insects, all support life. And I'll add there, electrics, magnetics, and the elements, and the Akasha mind principle. Pay attention to our ancient ancestors who lived on these lands for thousands upon thousands of years, where with enormous reverence for the natural laws. This is what today we call ecological awareness. Native Americans thought 7 generations ahead so that the preciousness of life would endure. The poetry of these Native Americans asks us to rekindle that flame. Consider it and begin to allow some of this ancient wisdom into your daily life. I close this offering to us from some Native American Indians with this Ojibwe Prayer, which we all might well read and apply anew each day. So let's try to do that, ladies and gentlemen. It says, Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided. And we are the ones who must come back together, ladies and gentlemen, to walk in the sacred way. Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other. That was fantastic. If there's ever a great prayer, that is a good one. I want to do that one just once more. Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. And I think right there he's referring to how nature is still playing by the rules of nature. We seem to be the only ones that are straying from this sacred way of nature, the natural way. We know that we are the ones who are divided. We have become divided amongst ourselves because we see ourselves as different than each other and have different ways of doing things. And we are the ones who must come back together, ladies and gentlemen. We are humanity. The white man, the red man, the black man, the yellow man, all races must not amalgamate into one, but we must lift up each other and then come back together in harmony to walk in the sacred way. Grandfather, sacred one, teach us love, compassion, honor, that we may heal the earth and in turn heal one another. That's a good one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, which is great about this book. I'll have this book linked in the description below. If you expand it open, there's a link so you can go to Amazon and I'll get a few shillings to take off the top. That will help support me and in turn help you, and we all win in that way. But the reason I'm saying that and telling you to get this book is because at the end of each of these chapters, despite being great reference material in all of the chapters, Wayne Dyer gives us a way that we can put this kind of higher thinking stuff into practical action in our life. And that's great. So at the end of this chapter, what he says here is to put the essential message of all these Native American contributors to work in your life. Start today to, number one, revere your surroundings by being in a constant state of gratitude for so much of what is taken for granted. Bless the animals, the sunshine, the rain, the air, the trees, and ground in silent rituals of thanksgiving every day. Number two, promote ecological awareness in your life by contributing to organizations that work on behalf of the environment. Make a conscious effort to reduce pollution, eliminate litter. Practice recycling. Your individual actions can recreate respect and reverence for Earth and the universe, our sacred web of life. Number three, spend more time in the solitude of nature, listening to the natural sounds and walking barefoot on the earth to reconnect yourself to all that supports and sustains life. Walking barefoot on the earth and getting in nature is one of the greatest ways to advance your own spirituality. And it's been proven. Live by example. This is number 4. Live by example rather than bemoaning the fact that people litter. Pick up that aluminum can and dispose of it properly, even though someone else was careless. Let young people see your act in these ways. Be the change you want to see, ladies and gentlemen. And then, finally, repeat the Ojibwe Prayer. Help heal the earth and each other with this reminder to live with love, compassion, and honor in your life each and every day, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. Boom. That one's deep and amazing. It hits home. You know, it was one of those ones that really kept me in a contemplative mood. You know, normally I get excited and I'm laughing and having a good time talking about these kind of subjects because I love it, being, you know, the researcher and magician, I guess, or, you know, whatever you want to call it that I am. But this one was really deep and really important. And I think we'll title this one, Achieving Greater Spirituality Through a Reverence for Nature. We'll see. Might be something close to that, a little bit different wording. But thank you so much to everyone who takes the time to spend with me, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Chief Seattle, Walking Buffalo, Orin Lions, whoever comes up in these wisdom of the ages, or whether it's Lao Tzu when we're doing living the wisdom of the Tao, or whether it's me and, any other individuals that have left great wisdom for us, whether alive or no longer here, we need to find the wisdom, because there is just that, ladies and gentlemen. There is a wisdom. There's a hidden wisdom, a wisdom of the ages, a secret knowledge that has been passed down, that is easy. It's easy to find, but not so easy to see until you're ready to see it, until your eyes are truly open. And so I hope everybody got value. If you did, consider subscribing and smash the like, and continue to be the change that you want to see in your life. Be the example. I've always asked that question to myself: what can I do to help enlighten, awaken, and lift people up to a higher level of, higher quality of life, higher level of consciousness, a higher way of thinking and being and existing. And I found that really the only way we can do this is not by, you can't force, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. And the thing that I always used to add was, if you try to force the horse to drink, you'll end up drowning him. But my friend added on to that, which was even better. And he said, when you're trying to force the horse to drink, you may not drown the horse. You may actually get kicked and get bucked and get hit and hurt yourself by trying to force awakening on other people. So back to the question I always ask myself: what is it that I can do to try to influence others in this way? And the simple answer is being the change that you want to see, being the example, so that when anybody it is sees you being that in your life and they see it working for you, they want to know how they can do it for themselves when they're ready, when they get to that point. And so I think we should all continue to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment in our lives, ladies and gentlemen, and continue to seek out and discover the hidden wisdom of the ages and make happiness the way. Because when happiness becomes the way, the path, our expression of how we live, when happiness becomes that way, then achieving happiness as a result and the destination becomes irrelevant, because we're already there, ladies and gentlemen. And it's so good. So once again, love you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back in the future with more wisdom of the ages, with more living the wisdom of the Tao, and anything else that comes up. Also, if you'd like to own one of my landscape paintings, that'll be linked down below in the description as well, my Etsy shop, and they're always a good price. And I haven't sold one in a couple months. I'm ready to reward whoever does buy one with maybe something extra. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back.